Okay. I kind of got that pretty quick.
It's inside.
It is, Governor. How are you? All right. I'm here. All right. What's your name? Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Wow.
I thank you all for coming. With no more further words from me, our Governor Deval Patrick.
When the president was in town in the fall, he asked me how I was thinking about the coming campaign. And I told him I actually like campaigning. Now, a lot of times when elected officials say that, they're lying. I actually like campaigning. I like being out. I like talking to people. More importantly, I like listening to people because it's important to understand that policy, the point where policy touches people, and is it making a difference? I told him at the time, though, there are only two things I don't like about campaigning. One is raising the money, and the other is the bragging. And he looked me right in the eye. He said, Deval, he said, get over it. I'm going to brag a little bit because there are some enormous challenges that we have been facing in state government, just like you in your homes, in your businesses, in local government, but that we have also at the same time continued to govern. In terms of those challenges, yes, of course, we're living through the worst economy in living memory. No one's gone untouched. It's touched people's income, their savings, their home values. It's done a number on a lot of people's confidence, too, in the future. In state government, we've been dealing with $9 billion in budget gaps. Just to give you a sense of perspective, that represents about a third of average annual spending. But we have stepped up and made those tough decisions, many of them enormously painful. But we have closed that budget gap and delivered 3 budgets now that were responsible, balanced, and on time, which is not something many other states can say. And kudos to the legislature for working with us on this. It matters. It matters. Our bond rating here in Massachusetts, a AA bond rating, has been confirmed and affirmed by Fitch, Moody's, and Standard & Poor's. Again, not something that many other states can say in this economic crisis. And they have specifically cited our management of this budget through the crisis. That's why we can make the investments in Medway that Karen Spilka was talking about just now. That's why we have a capital program underway right now which is twice the size of the best year of the previous administration. $3 billion in fixing our broken infrastructure, road, rail, and bridge projects, broadband expansion, public and affordable housing, open space preservation, 54,000 acres of open space preserved in the last 18 months. Investing in recreation, investing in transportation, in our public college and university campuses, fixing our infrastructure. It's not glamorous work, but it does make jobs right now, and it creates economic foundation and quality of life going forward. So these things are connected. We are first in the nation in student achievement, even though you have no teeth. We are first in the nation in healthcare coverage for our residents. We are first in the nation in clean and alternative energy policy, which is why the president was here in the fall. We have stepped up and addressed some of the hardest issues up on Beacon Hill, intractable, nagging issues, like the state pension system, where we've ended abuse, like tightening the ethics and lobbying rules, like simplifying the transportation network, shutting down the Turnpike Authority, and saving you $250 million already. Like, yes indeed, like your auto insurance premiums have come down across the Commonwealth on average 10% because we brought competition into the system. 11 new companies, hundreds of new jobs. There's civilian flaggers who work at state construction sites today. And in the, of all the reforms, the one that I'm proudest of is education reform, which was a hard vote among many that we've asked the legislature to take. But now we have finally got some tools to address the achievement gap. Because for the 17 years we've been on this journey to improve the public schools, we have had a persistent gap in which are trapped poor children and children with special needs or who speak English as a second language. More often than not, children of color. That's an educational problem, it's an economic problem, it's a moral issue too. It's a moral issue. Finally, we have stepped up to that. I am very, very proud of that reform. I mentioned the investments we're making in fixing our broken infrastructure, the highest and most intense ever in the history of the Commonwealth. And by the way, you can marry anyone you love in the Commonwealth as well, which I think speaks a lot for our values. Having said that, I am not running for a second term as a reward for the first. I want to be clear about that. I'm running for a second term to finish what we started. Right? It's great to have the tools to close the achievement gap, but we still have an achievement gap to close. We have done so much work to transition this economy of ours here in Massachusetts to the innovation economy of tomorrow. By the way, those are the sectors growing today. The clean and alternative energy sector, biotech, life sciences, IT. It's why we are performing, according to the Philadelphia Fed, outperforming 48 other states right now. But there's still a lot of people out of work who need to find a way and a place into that new economy. It is terrific that 97.5% of our residents have health insurance today. There's not another state that can touch it. But it's still too expensive, especially for small businesses and for families. And it is important, I think, that through our campaign and the President's campaign, so many new faces and new voices have come into civic and political life, but there's still a lot of people, a lot of them you know, who feel on the outside looking in, like government is about self-service and not public service. There's a lot of work here yet to do. And so I am asking for your help, and in very specific ways, 3 in particular. First of all, be informed. Be informed. I know you're having conversations just like I'm having all around the Commonwealth where people say, what have they done? You might not know that we've had the most productive legislative sessions in 30 years. And it's hard to be heard over the din of hate radio, I will tell you that. Or all the people who stand on the sidelines and root for failure. But we have to ask you to be informed about how much has been accomplished and what remains. Because that enables you to do the second thing I ask you to do, which is make it personal. Make it personal. Talk to somebody. Talk to your friends, your neighbors, your schoolmates, your family members, your co-workers. And above all, talk to somebody who doesn't already agree with us. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding. We have got to model the kind of politics that says we don't have to agree on everything before we can work together on anything. See, it's that kind of politics that is the reason not enough gets done in Washington. We have to show what we mean by forming coalitions, forming bridges with people who differ with us where and as we can. And I would say very specifically, become an organizer. We are organizing 21,000 plus organizers by Election Day. And it simply means you take responsibility for getting 50 people. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, whatever it is. Maybe Paul can say a word or two about that in a minute.